do, everyone. Welcome to Living in Two Worlds, and we have another something going on. I get some feedback going. I don't know. It's weird. It's like we have a volume on something, maybe on a phone or on your computer, Ortrun. No?
It's nothing any different than ever.
Okay, that's all right. Maybe I'll just go away, right? Okay, so welcome everybody to Living in Two Worlds, and welcome to those that are in the live chat. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And also for those who will be watching this show in the recorded version, thank you so much for making time in your day to watch our show. We appreciate it. And tonight is all about our soul. And with my co-hosts, Ortrun and Carl Franklin, they're here. We're going to bring them on. Hang on. There they are.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Wonderful
Thanks
to
for
see
being
you
with
this
you.
evening. Yeah. So, people have
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. It's like we're getting some feedback. Like,
okay, what do you think? I need to do something with my. I'm sorry about that. I've got my speaker on the computer at well, I don't know.
oh, your computer and your external mic.
That speaker should not be.
It usually is. Okay, I'll turn it off and let's just see. Is that better?
I think
Can
so.
you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, I
I
can.
can hear you.
Oh, that's because you were in the lobby and we were live. And so, can you hear me now? You can't hear me. Oh, let's see. So you have to have your external.
Well, it's bad.
What was it?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna how do we sound now on your end?
You sound very good now.
Okay, let me just a little. Can you hear her?
Yes.
You haven't got your ear.
Yes, I
I'm
do.
sorry, it's still adjusting here.
That's
Feel
all
bad.
right. Well, you know, for our audience, it's because we're in the brand new Studio 2 for Be Live. And we're so used to the old studio and we could just go in there and just do our thing. And with the new studio, the buttons are different. We have to test everything out because we don't know how well it's going to work. So your sounds really good. Your audio now does.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to turn it over to the two of you to help our audience out and let them know what we're going to be talking about tonight. And I am going to go and send the broadcast, the live stream, to a couple of different groups and places. And Ortrun, I will definitely send it to your
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. And we're going to let you guys have it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All the way through seminary and 15 years as a Lutheran minister, we had the belief and were taught that we have a soul. But never in all of that time did I ever hear a definition of what the soul is. So, and the belief in a soul is universal through all of the world religions. So tonight I'd like to explore with you or share some ideas with you. What is the soul? What is its function? How does it communicate with us? Can we communicate with it? And how? And I'm hoping that this will raise some questions in your mind. And if you will, share your questions. If you have it, other people have it too. So please bring it up and let's see if we can't come up with some kind of an insight for an answer here. In order to understand our soul, we first of all have to have some kind of an understanding of the Creator, the one commonly called God. And who is this? Now, in pictures and so on, and I think in many Christians' minds, it's pictured as the old man with the beard. But that concept was evolved back when the earth was considered to be the center of the universe. All of the stars at night revolved around the earth, and The Earth was all that there was really to the universe. But now that we know that the universe is almost endless with billions of galaxies, each galaxy with billions of stars, who is this God? And I would like to begin with an explanation of God by going back to the beginning, to what the scientists call the Big Bang. And there is some reality to the Big Bang from my perspective. I'm going to be drawing on the Urantia book, as well as the Bible, as well as channeled information that I've been given and that I have read, and trying to put together a cohesive picture. And I offer this to you for your consideration. I'm not presenting it as the truth, because I don't think I or anyone has the capacity for that. But it is an understanding of what is and why it is. So in the beginning, according to science and according to the Urantia book, and the Urantia book is, to me, it's the highest level book I have ever read. They're in agreement that the entire universe is made out of energy. And the Urantia book explains it this way. There were energy workers gathering, creating, modulating, harmonizing, balancing energy over millions of years. And when the energy was ready to be shaped into a universe, there was a creator sun. Now, a creator sun is made out of the consciousness and the energy of Father God and Son God. And according to the Urantia book, their sole purpose is to create and then oversee universes. And this is a little sidestep, but according to the Urantia book, our universe, in fact, all universes, are in what they refer to as the third creation. And the third creation consists of 7 super universes. And these 7 super universes revolve around the second creation, which is like a donut. And in the center of the donut is the first creation, consisting primarily of a gigantic sphere called paradise. And revolving around paradise are some smaller spheres, 3 of which contain the sons of God, creator sons being one of those 3 types. The creator sons are taught how to create, and when the energy is ready, a creator son is then sent out to shape that energy into a universe. The first 6 super universes are complete with 100,000 universes each. We're a universe 63,000 and something in the 7th and the final super universe. And so we're in the newest super universe, and we're one of the newer universes in our super universe, which makes us perhaps in our teenage years in comparison to the other universes. So we're not as developed or as evolved, and within our universe, we are one of the newer galaxies. And we know this because galaxies are created from the center out, and we're about maybe 60% of the way out, away from the wing of our galaxy that we are on. So when the Creator created, the energy was all set, and the Creator had in mind what he wanted his universe to be like. And scientists do not know what caused the Big Bang, but I want to share with you a possibility here. The Big Bang occurred when the Creator infused her consciousness into every particle, wave of energy that make up the universe. when that his conscious was placed in that everything that make up that field of energy, the energy began to rapidly expand, and it is still expanding. And in fact, the rate of expansion it's increasing. The quantum physicists have come along and they have told us that not only is everything made out of energy, but everything in the universe has consciousness. And this is why I believed it was when the Creator infused her consciousness into the energy that makes up the universe. That was when the Creator began expanding. Now, with that background, the question is, what is our soul? And in the Bible, in the story of creation in Genesis, it states, and God created, I'm going to modernize it a little bit, instead of God creating man, when God created humankind, they were created in the image and likeness of God. And in his image and likeness, he created them. The only point in the Bible that I'm aware of where God repeats himself, and the only reason for that is to emphasize the point. We're created in the image and likeness of God. Now, there are, according to the biologists, between 1 and 2 million different kinds of life forms on the planet. We're the only one created in the image and likeness of God. And the reason for that is our soul is the divine consciousness of the Creator that exists within us. And the amount of consciousness, the level of consciousness that we have is higher than any of the 1 to 2 million other life forms on the planet. So our soul is the indwelling presence of the Creator. Now, is our soul, did it come directly from the Creator? I don't think so. I don't think so for this reason. That can you imagine the level of consciousness that the Creator is at, and contrast that to the level of consciousness we are at? The gap is, well, beyond imagination. And it is my feeling, and to an extent my experience, that my soul has come from a higher, more evolved soul, and it came from yet a higher, more evolved soul, and it came, and so on, all of the way back. The origin of all of these souls is the Creator. And these souls are all at different levels of frequency. So I believe that I'm going to say virtually everyone on the planet, but I want to stress especially the light workers, our souls are in the process of merging with the next higher aspect of itself, which is our Christ itself. And when Jesus said, "My Father and I are one," I believe what he meant, though this was not, of course, the understanding of the disciples. What he meant to me was, I have become one with my soul. My soul is the essence. It is the Father within me. And he went on to say that everything that he did, we could do an even greater. But what's not recorded in the Bible, but to me is implied, we can do that when we become one with the higher aspect of our soul, with the Christed aspect. And I believe that Jesus was functioning at the high end of the 5th dimension of consciousness. And that is the dimension that the Christed soul is functioning at. And as we're moving our consciousness out of the 3rd level of consciousness through the 4th and into the 5th, we are moving into the low end of our Christ consciousness soul. In other words, our smaller not as lower frequency soul, is merging with a higher frequency soul, the Christed soul. And at some point in the future, our Christed soul will begin to merge with its sixth dimensional soul, which will then eventually merge with a seventh dimensional soul. So we're headed back to being one with the Creator. Now, that's what our soul is. Now, what does it do?
Can I say something?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I have a little bit of a different perspective. I believe that, well, first and foremost, he was saying that they never explained what the soul was when he was going through seminary. Now, coming out of the Catholic background, we were also told about the soul, and we were told a few things. We were told that it is ongoing, so that it's which to me in a sense felt like, okay, so we're here now, but once we're gone from this world, then we're floating around somewhere. I didn't know. I never realized at that point that about incarnation and such. But also, what I have grown into as far as the belief is that the soul is like our personal Akashic record.
Mhm.
And I believe, Carl said he doesn't think that we were part of the one that came down from the heart and mind of God. I think that every one of us was very equal as an aspect of the divine. And I feel that that aspect did choose to leave the heart and mind of God to explore and to help, because there was that call that went out about wanting to, they needed help at certain places. It was planets and eventually down onto the third dimensional world. And so we really wanted to do that. And so we did. So we left the heart and mind of God. And my perspective is more so that we were equal at one point. All of us had, but then we stepped down into the different levels of awareness and consciousness where we had our different levels of soul families. And when we were in those different parts of that we were exploring, first and foremost, we couldn't step right down into the third dimension because Carl mentioned that the frequency is so different. So that's why we stepped down. We stepped down from the heart and mind of the divine into a level that was a little bit, the vibration was different, a little bit lower. And there we came into a family, a soul family. And there, I believe, we started accumulating already more than what we had experienced within the heart and mind of God, because the more that we experience, the more the divine experiences and becomes even, in a sense, larger and larger, because we are always part of the one of the God. But it expands, it becomes, because the divine is actually even learning about him herself as we're experiencing these things. So I believe that we stepped down, we did accumulate, we learned from the different experiences that others had already experienced. And then we came on down to the certain level. But then when we came to the third dimensional earth plane, this is was the most challenging for every one of us. And the reason why it was is because this is the one that was then the planet of the positive negative energies. But in order for us to experience these vibrations on the planet, they helped us decide what it is that we wanted to learn here upon the planet. And even though we were very much expanded in consciousness before we stepped into the third dimension, we had allowed ourselves to move down, and we may not, I believe we had memory until that point. And then when you stepped into the third dimension, that was the agreement was that, okay, in order to learn even more than you ever learned before on these other levels that you were at, that you would now your memory would be wiped out. So it's basically, you brought gifts with you, certain gifts with you, but most of it was, you just didn't remember it. It was, I'm not going to say it was gone. It was just basically there was a veil between it, so you couldn't connect to it.
Yes.
And then because we came here basically to help, but yet we had to understand the planet and the vibratory frequencies of the planet before we could actually understand and assist. Because even in the angelic levels, they don't really understand what that frequency of the earth is like, the density with our bodies and everything that's around us, how much more that your vibration is totally slowed down by the time you get to this level. So we then learned on the earth plane, and we walked into situations that were not always the easiest, but we always had our soul. It's always been within our heart. I'm going to say the high heart. That was where we carried that. We were also given a mind. We call it a brain here on the earth plane, but really there's much more to that. But what we started out with, most of us, was that brain, and that's what they gave us. And then more and more, I believe now, people are coming in where the veil is open, or where then it was thin somewhat, so they could connect more. As far as, I'm going to say, just being aware. But others, they didn't see anything, but there was a sense of trusting and knowing, and that was because of the soul which we had within us, that we were carrying with us. And I believe that's what makes us have that rod of steel within us. We may be challenged in areas outside here, but yet on the other hand, when it comes to certain things, there's that rod of steel. There's still that inner knowing, something that you carried with you, and you don't even know why you're that strong about certain situations, but you know, it's that sense of knowing. So we brought that in with us. So we learned about the earth plane. We learned about the frequencies of the earth. And every time we learn, of course, because we have these different levels of spirit family, we're sharing that knowledge with them, because now we're part of all these ones that we were with throughout these various times. So we're also teachers to them now.
Yes.
But everything that we learned coming down that we had already known within our, I'm going to say, individualized Akashic record, which our soul, I believe, is, we gather that, and it's in our soul. And then what we experienced here on the earth plane, that's also part of our soul. So we don't have everything in our soul that was good, and we remember things that we experienced here before, like the hurts, the pains. We may have balanced them out, so we understand, have that knowing now of whatever that would have been, or the vibratory frequency that would have been. But we still have those aches that we haven't resolved. We still have that in our soul also. So part of the thing with the returning and going back and helping with this upliftment of the planet Earth is for us to resolve these different parts that our soul is still aching about, because that's what it is. That's a good word for me, is aching, because you can sometimes just say my soul aches. So by resolving those and then understanding both sides of what those hurts might have been, and understanding why they were there, and recognizing and the balancing out, and now knowing both sides of the issue, basically, that's when it becomes that neutralization, and then the resolution takes place. But your soul always remembers what that whole situation was about. And so from my perspective, because of, and I've had many experiences in this lifetime, and let alone who knows other lifetimes, that is when, if you're in a counseling position, it's like there's an inner knowing. And why? Who knows why, but you knew it. And it's because those are a gift that you have accumulated, because you've come to understand vibratory frequencies and the balance of the vibratory frequency of the positive, negative energies. But now, and the more we know, the more we're able to start uplifting and helping the planet also be uplifted now into the third, the fourth, and fifth dimension. But certainly that journey has to begin within ourselves, and we have to, like I said, become balanced in the various situations that we've ever been, faced with and know, and the more we know, the more we're not only helping ourselves to understand and to grow, but we're also assisting our ancestors and assisting our generations to come in understanding things that they don't now have to experience. And then also it goes up and we uplift the planet because we're sharing it also with everyone on the planet. And not just them, but like I said, also the ones that you're working with anyhow. And it goes back into eventually we go back all into the divine essence to source.
I agree with everything you're saying now. It's different perspectives.
Different ways of saying things, yeah.
But I want to stress the point that I believe that our soul is a part of the creator of our universe, and that all aspects of the soul between us and the creator of the universe, we are their teachers. They're learning from our experiences to understand this level of creation. To observe something, to observe a football game is far, far different than playing, being out on the field as a player. And so we're the players here on the field of the earth. And this is for the upliftment and the benefit and the growth of literally all of creation. And we're not in here in this situation alone. We are the physical expression of our soul. Our soul is energy, it's consciousness. And because we live in a physical world, it needs a physical vehicle through which to experience and express. So we have a physical body with its 5 senses, and our soul is desirous of us communicating with it, of allowing it to communicate with us. And how do we do that? Well, it is possible for communication to come through our conscious mind, and occasionally it does, as we have, a flash of insight, but usually it comes through the subconscious mind. And that's why meditation is so important. And if you have difficulty meditating, as you're falling asleep, you go through the same state that you're in meditation called the alpha state. Focus your mind on your soul. Ask your soul questions. Ask your soul for help. And as you do that, be open to receive the answer. In my experience is the answer almost never comes the way I think it's going to come. So it's a matter of remembering what you've asked for and anticipating that is going to be answered. And I believe that it's always answered. But I believe that many times, because the answer goes right by us, we don't grab it. And it may be a person, it may be an event, it may be an opportunity, it may be a challenge. It may be a pleasant experience, or it may be an unpleasant experience. But we are always given the opportunity to get the answer that we ask for. And when we pray, it is our spirit family and our soul that answer our prayers. All right? So to me, one of the most important things that we I don't want to say have to do, but can be most helpful in doing, is to become one with our soul, one in consciousness, one in thought, one in will, one in desire. And if we can ask our soul, what is it that you would like me to do for you? How would you like to use this physical body? And be willing to step out of your body and turn it over to your soul. And let your soul experience what it's like, all right, to be purely, and I shouldn't say purely, but mostly in physical form, what it feels like. And if your body is in pain, to ask your soul, not only to help you to overcome the pain, but ask your soul if it would like to experience it with you. And if it does that, then surely it's going to have the desire to help you move beyond it. Okay? So your soul is the divine aspect of the Creator in you, experiencing through your physical, mental, and emotional body. Okay, and I would like to throw it open. Neshi, do you have any comments to add here, or anybody have any comments or questions that they would like to propose at this time?
Actually, yeah, there's, I want to show who's in the live chat, and there is a question there as well. Before I do that, what I'd like to add is from an indigenous or a native perspective, is that there's many native nations who have the belief that there is the great mystery,
Okay.
right? And so in many ways, that's kind of like the prime creator, the creator of creators. And then there's the creator that created the earth and the planets and that sort of thing. And so, I think the concept has been shared for sure, right? And many indigenous people believe that when we leave the physical body and go back into spirit, that we came from the stars, and so we're going to return to the stars. And so I think that there's a lot of similarities there in what you both shared, but it's just said differently, right?
Yes.
Said
Yeah.
differently. Yeah.
That's nice too also.
Yeah. And what I agreed with Carl about is about connecting to our soul, right? Because there's something Carl and I share that many people don't know, is that we both studied psychology in college. And so we have that underpinning, of that understanding of psychology. And when I first really was consciously aware of my journey here as a spirit, right, is that I remember in meditation I was talking to my spiritual team, my spiritual family, and I was asking them, why was it necessary for me to go through that piece to understand it? And what it was said is that it was in my soul contract to understand that what us two-leggeds did, us humans did, to understand ourselves, was we took ourselves apart, literally, to be able to look at the different aspects of ourselves, our higher self or super consciousness, our conscious self and our subconscious self. And what they're called by lots of different names. But we took it apart, something that was once whole. And so now we're experiencing how to pull that all back together into the whole being, so that when we connect to our higher self, our soul, it's in a holistic way. It is not, our soul is over there someplace else, right, and our subconscious or inner child is somewhere over there. And it's an aspect of the whole being. Yeah. Much like, Carl, you explained how we are an aspect of our higher self and our higher self in different higher realms of being. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. Right. And the Big Bang Theory thing, as you were explaining that, I was thinking, man, that's kind of like when a baby is born here, and the first breath that they take, it's usually, you can hear them as they're yelling or screaming that first breath, right? It's kind of like a Big Bang. It might have been, it's kind of like on a microcosm kind of way, but it is that expansion, right? Yes. It is that expansion. So, all right, that was my 2 cents. I'm going to let you know who's all in the house. Jocelyn's with us. Hello, Jocelyn.
Hi, Jocelyn. Good to see you.
And Tina's here as well. Hello,
Hi,
Tina. And Polly Jo's in the house. She said she shared it. Thank you, Polly Jo.
All right.
And Tina has a question. Now, we might have to get a little explanation here, a little bit more information. Tina's saying, can you explain how my son went from this plane of existence to the angelic realm of being a spirit helper? So I'm thinking, Tina, are you saying that your son crossed over, that he walked on? Is that what you're saying? And it's going to take a little bit because there's a little bit of a delay for her to reply to us.
Okay.
But that's her question. It's gonna. Hopefully, she's near her keyboard so she can answer. Yeah. So as we're waiting for her, one of the other things that I was thinking about is that even with the Maya, they talk about the central sun, which is behind and our sun that we see here. But there's the central sun, and that's where they send their prayers, and that's who the great mystery is for them, is to the central sun. Okay, so Tina's saying yes. She's saying yes, that her son did cross over.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, so that helps that question a little bit more.
Okay, it could be that he came from the angelic realm, and in his life script, he was here for a limited period of time to gather, I don't know, some information or give some specific services. And when he had done that, then he no longer needed to be here. And he simply, when he died, when he left his physical body, if he returned to the angelic realm, perhaps from which he had come. So it could have been just one short lifetime to accomplish what it was he came to do.
Or he may have been here many lifetimes, actually. And this was the one that you're most aware of his lifetimes. And I totally agree with Carl also that my sense was that he came from the angelic realm. And so that's where he returned to. We all come from a certain level of vibration. And my understanding is also through different channelings and so on, and also with Carl, that I came from the angelics, and I really resonate with that. That is something that I believe where I came from originally, or spent more time in, because as I was talking about, went to different places and to different, probably different realms and different worlds. We have a place that while we were coming down, when we were putting that vibration, bringing it further down and down so we could be here on the earth plane. That's where I feel that I did spend the most amount of time. So that's what I relate with. And since that is the case for me, and it could very well be for your son also, that's where he went back to, was that angelic realm. And then apparently you're communicating with your son, which is wonderful. What a blessing, right? And so that you realize that he is actually back in that place where he spent most of the time, where he's probably the most comfortable, being away from that whole essence of course, being connected to the divine, but before he left that heart and mind of the divine, and that's where he felt the most comfortable. So that's why he went back to that.
My spirit family's talking to me, and they're saying that, yes, when he went back, he was inundated with questions from other angels who have never been in physical form. What is it like? What does it feel like? What did you experience, etc.? So one of his reasons for coming here was to get the information that he could then share to help educate the angels that are with him.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Uh-huh. So, and as I mentioned before, I believe that the soul is our Akashic record, so that we are carrying that, but we also gave it back, to the heart and mind of the divine. So this knowledge is now available to everyone, really, in essence. But because of this lifetime and accumulating what we did in this lifetime, and of course everything we ever accumulated when we were in these lifetimes here on the earth plane, it also goes into the akasha of the earth. So these experiences and the learning that we grew from makes it a little bit easier for the next one coming along that's also learning about that particular vibratory frequency. So the more that we give back, do and experience ourselves, and we're able to bring in that space of neutrality, more and more, it will make it easier, as I mentioned before, for the ancestors and also for our families, or to get to a point, it gets you to a point where they don't even have to experience that. They just have that knowing. And that's what it also does for the planet. But if they're going to be going through that again, then because we have already laid the groundwork and learned about that, it's there for to everyone on the earth plane to tap into. So they don't have to start from ground zero anymore, because we've all added our portion of what we understand about those vibratory frequencies that created like a certain kind of a pain in the neck, for instance. So because they're all different, everything within us, every cell has a different vibratory frequency. And you stop and think about everything about the earth plane having different vibratory frequencies, and learning that it can take a while to actually accumulate that. But that's what I believe that Christ is an ascended master, because Christ, he learned all of that, and that's what made him the ascended master. We are masters in our own right, because we have brought certain vibratory frequencies into neutrality, into the knowing. So we are masters ourselves. But because the Christ, he had experienced or mastered all of them upon the planet, that makes him the ascended master. That's where I think the difference is yet. And because we're still learning and growing, and we will eventually be that too, once we have accumulated all those different parts of what we can learn here on the planet. And we don't necessarily have to learn it being right here on the planet. We can learn those things also when we're residing somewhere else, or
in between lives. Yeah. In between lives.
Yes.
So Tina has something else to say here. I want to show this. And no, I was going to say, I think we could do this a little bit better, but I'll try. Here he goes. She says, he came to me in a dream, and I hugged him, and my head came to his belly. He was tall. And he told me in thought that, Mom, as soon as I am finished helping this girl, I will come and spend some time with you. And at his casket, a spiritual man said he was going to be a spirit helper, and a medium said life was too harsh for him, and he was in the angelic realm.
Yes. And especially someone that has come from the angelic realm, because the vibration is very, very clear. And the density of the planet, especially if it was maybe just one of the few lifetimes. Maybe he hasn't been here many, many, many lifetimes. So he's been a little bit more, he's gotten that sense of balance more. So the ones that are a little bit newer, that's going to be harsher for them.
Yeah.
But Tina, it was an honor for you, I believe, that he chose to come through you. So, which means that you have to be at a very high spiritual vibration yourself.
Yeah. And what I love is divine timing, right? We just finished reading Tina's statement about her son, and your clock chimes go off, and it's like,
I didn't even notice. We're used to it, right? So
yeah, but it's that timing in that, and I would like to think and feel that Tina, that your son is here listening, and putting his 2 cents in as soon as the chimes goes off.
Any other thoughts or comments here?
That was the last one for right now. I do have a question for the both of you, though. I'm thinking how I can phrase this. In some indigenous beliefs, there is a belief that our soul can be fractured when we go through a traumatic event, right? And so that part of our soul that is fractured sometimes stays in that time frame, almost like in a loop. And so that's why we do soul retrievals, is to go find that piece for them and to bring it back.
Yeah.
From your perspective and your experience in the soul work that you do, how is that perceived from your side? I mean, I just shared the indigenous portion of that, but how is that viewed from your belief system, and is that possible from your belief system?
Okay, I do not have personal experience in that, but I do see that as a possibility that the soul can be so hurt and so injured that there's some type of a breakdown there.
Mhm.
And I think there's value to those people that do soul retrieval. And I think there's a correspondence with
PTSD.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That could be a part of what's happening there.
I agree with Carl. I think that there are very traumatic things that happen, too. And probably, if not in this lifetime, other lifetimes that have happened, probably all of us. Because that was part of our experience also. And so there is a floundering that goes on. I believe that, I was born during World War II, and the bombs were, my parents, could hear them. I was interuterine for quite a while at that time. I remember even here when we would go watch fireworks, and I wasn't even the one that saw them yet because I was, of course, interuterine most of that time. I was born in 44, so I experienced like the planes going over, but I don't remember so much the bombs falling at the time. But we were watching the fireworks, and we were on top of a building, so we were very close to them, and they were going off so fast. I mean, all of a sudden, my whole entire being felt so anxious and nervous because it felt to me like it was gunfire, that you could see just all these flashes of light, and it was all gunfire that was going on, with the planes and so on. And I just had to really go within and balance myself at that time and bring myself back so that because I was feeling shattered, and discombobulated. So I think that many of us have gone through things of that sort. I mean, if anyone that probably has gone through any kind of abuse, those kind of things can shatter you. What it does, it shatters your aura. And as Neshi said, it's that fracturing. So those individuals, there's lots of, work they need to do. And most people, if they're not aware of soul retrieval at that point in time in their awareness yet, they have to start someplace. So the going into counseling with someone that maybe has had a similar type of experience, or try to even find out what it is that caused you to feel that way, and starting at a certain point. But one of the blessings is being in this field of spirituality and recognizing that there are more gifts than the outer, because most of us probably started out just looking at the outer, and you thought everything was really resolved in the outer. Unless, I know those of you with the Native American are a little bit more aware than probably the rest of us were. And we moved more into realizing that things weren't separated. And you don't understand what's going on with you. But once you start moving into that more holistic way of looking things and getting the assistance at that point, and also being willing to look at it and see, I have to say, I remember even with meditation, I was afraid of letting go. And one of the reasons why I was afraid of letting go, I'd get to a point where I'd feel like it was sort of a separation feeling, like, wait a minute, and then I'd feel very uncomfortable because I didn't have the control anymore. Because when you are going through healing, in a sense, you do have to let go of control so that the healing portion can come in. So it's that kind of thing when you have that fracturing, and you don't want to be in that space, but somehow when something occurs, it brings you right back into that feeling of being all broken apart. And the other thing is that, in a sense, we're fractured anyhow because we have separated and mostly from knowing that we are, this is where it really what it is that is us is what's inside of us. So, and we have many bodies. We have the physical, the mental, the emotional, the auric, the astral, the soul, and also the Christed bodies, which we eventually get to but we have to gather all those together. So that's a fraction in itself. It's not bringing all those different bodies together in oneness. And the way that you can do that for yourself is to start, of course, utilizing your spirit family and having them be, with you throughout the day. And Carl mentioned about morning and at night and being in the alpha state. That's the easiest way to start meditating because you're in that vibratory frequency of what meditation would be anyhow. So you can connect better with your subconscious mind, but then the more that you practice this, then you start moving into the superconscious. And that's really where you become more aware of your soul and start understanding where these different issues came from. And helping, having your divine ones, if you're not getting outside help, have them assist you so that you can start looking at those things. My fear was if I let go and looked at myself, there'd be something in there that I wasn't going to like. I thought that, there must have been something that told me once upon a time I'm not a good person. There's something really bad within me. So once I started to trust that I'm being protected by my divine ones, my spirit family, and when I put myself into meditation, I would relax more into it. And if I felt that coming on, I would just start breathing and relaxing and maybe saying a mantra so that I would get beyond that feeling of fear, and that would allow me to go a little bit further into meditation. And it might have taken a while for me to actually trust, because now, of course, I just trust. When I'm in meditation, I trust. But then it took me a while to get that space and to trust more and more and more. And that is the way that you can then start healing that soul, that fractured soul.
Yeah, Neshi, in the couple of minutes that we have left, I'd just like to do a quick summary if I can.
Sure.
And our soul is the divine essence of the Creator within us. And I think, most important challenge in life is to become one with it, allowing our soul to become one with us. And to do that, we need to begin communicating with it. We need to begin asking questions, asking for help, being open to hear and to feel what it is it wants for us and from us, and literally to become one with it. And as we do that, any feeling of separation that we might have had disappears. And I think the feeling of separation that people might have is because they are consciously not connected with their divine core.
Yeah.
And as they connect with that, they're going to become more whole as a person. They're going to be able to more easily tap into the power and the wisdom of the Creator. And if we do that while keeping our chakras wide open and at the highest possible frequency, which I believe is necessary for our soul to fully express through us, our potential is virtually unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
And working separate from our soul, we have the normal human limitations. And working with our soul, those limitations no longer exist.
Right.
And it's the only way that I know of for us to become whole and to become wholly what our potential is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Carl. I just want to get caught up with people in the chat, just so you know what they're saying. Tina is saying, when you were saying that, she must have a high vibrational frequency to carry the son that she did, right? Mm-hmm. She says, I feel so blessed and thankful.
Yes.
Yeah. And Polly Jo said she heard chimes at her place as well.
Oh, wonderful.
She's also saying that, oops, I thought wait, hit the wrong one. All right, there we go. Love doing soul retrieval work. That's what Polly Jo is saying. PTSD and trauma healing from that. And she's saying, thank you for asking that question. You're welcome. Hi, Joe. Lisa's here too. Hi, Lisa. She says, I have done soul retrieval. It's very powerful. Bring back fragments of ourselves, even past lives, to be healed. Space-time continuum in every dimension. That's true.
Right. Mhm.
That's true. And Jocelyn is saying, if someone dies from a traumatic death, do you believe they stay in limbo until their soul is at peace?
Since you do lots of work on the astral plane,
I think it might be more challenging for them when they approach the entrance to heaven to make a good decision, a decision that's in their highest good. I think that their soul could be rattled, and their mental body could be rattled, and their emotional body could be on high alert. So yes, it could create a problem for them. But when they do settle down, all they need to do is I believe, ask that I'm now ready to go home, to be reunited with my
Yeah.
heavenly family.
Yeah. And I think that our prayers for them
Yeah.
help them
Yeah.
along their way. You
Yeah.
know, when we ask for angels of the most optimal and highest order to come to them and to assist them. Our
Yeah.
prayers, I think, do help.
exactly. That's what I also feel is that even though they may not be aware of these angels and divine ones being around them, they are, and they're carrying them, anyhow. And then there'll be a point where they start waking up and recognizing that they are there, and they will get their healing so they can move on. Again, there might be that fear because what happened, or maybe they brought on something, where they might have had a traumatic death. Who knows, but so, but they're there for them to assist them, to help them move on, move forward.
What I use extensively is I use their loved ones who
Yes.
are in heaven.
Mhm.
And if they've been shattered and so on, there could be a problem with trust.
Mm.
And they trust their loved ones. So I ask their loved ones to come and to help guide them, and then to lead them to the angels of transition that will then take them to the entrance to heaven. So they have a second chance.
Right, right. And Lisa is saying, I think they go through a resting period to help adapt to the other side.
Yeah, I think once they get on the heavenly plane, they will definitely go I want to call it a detox unit, but it's a place of peace and comfort where they can process what's happened. And there's also, we all go through a life review period too on the heavenly plane.
Right.
And that's fairly early on in our entrance to heaven.
Yeah. And Carl, wouldn't you say that that traumatic death was even in their life script?
That's
It
right.
could well be.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I was going to bring up.
Yes.
Because, there's something that they needed to learn. Maybe they were repaying a karmic thing. Who knows? Or they may have just put themselves in that position so that someone else could learn something.
Right.
Something we needed to learn.
Oh, that's a good one, Ortrun. That's a good one.
Mhm.
Because we're all here to walk each other home, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got about a minute left, and I want to make sure that we leave room for last words before we say good evening to everybody. So why don't we start with Carl? Carl, last words?
Yes. Please focus attention in the meditative state on your soul. Begin talking with it, relating to it, asking for help, asking questions, and offering the services of your time, your energy, and your physical, mental, and emotional body to them, should they desire to use it. Become one with them, allow them to become one with you.
Well, realize that you and your soul are one, and realize that soul dwells within you, and all that is divine and sacred starts here, because this is what you brought as you came down, and that by uniting with your soul, everything becomes so much clearer for you, and you will be given guidance that you never realized. And connecting with that soul brings you love, peace, joy, understanding,
At one.
At one,
Yes.
right. Mhm.
Mm. That's so good. That's so good. Mine is that, we're at a juncture where we have an opportunity to shift our perspective. It's a consciousness shift, right?
Yes.
And so many times we hear the phrase, we are a spiritual being having a physical experience, right?
Mhm.
And we understand that in the intellectual way. But
Right.
now we have the opportunity to really bring it in and truly understand it in our spiritual and our emotional and our mental and our physical beings. And we have that opportunity to make that consciousness shift. Because once you know, you can't unknow.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
That's right.
True.
And I have to say this is that I love doing this show with you two because there's so many aha moments, and I can see it in the chat room, and to be able to sit here and have this kind of conversation is one of the best things in my day. So thank you so much for making
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, and we totally appreciate, doing this with you also.
Yes.
And giving us the opportunity to do it. Thank
So
you.
our
And thank you,
blessings
viewers.
to everyone listening now
Yes.
and later on. So.
Yes, definitely. Thank you all who are in the live chat right now. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And those who will be watching the recorded show, thank you so much for making time in your day to be with us as well. And with that, enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. And we'll see you next month, the last Thursday of every month at 8 p.m. for Living in Two Worlds.
Blessings to you
Blessings
all.
to everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.